For the next 15 minutes, I'm going to talk about local payment methods and Stripe's view and kind of my experience over the last 3 years working as a product manager lead at Stripe on payment methods. I'm curious to do a small survey of the audience before I do that. Who here considered themselves a merchant from kind of the ecosystem term? Okay. Wow, it seems to be the majority. Who here consider themselves a platform? So you enable other merchants to accept payments. All right, good part of the audience as well. Who here represents a local payment method itself? See Monique. And who is a consultant, a service provider, or working in kind of the payment industry? All right, cool. That helps me kind of understand how to structure the rest of the presentation, so thank you. Nuvei did a great job going over the why of payment methods, why you should offer them, why they're important. One concrete example of that that we have done as an experiment on Stripe is we looked at 6,000 merchants before and after they started offering local payment methods relevant to EU buyers. And across that merchant base, we observed a 40% average increase in sales when they started to offer Ideal in the Netherlands or Bank Contact in Belgium or GeroPay in Germany. So there's some concrete numbers behind the term leaving money on the table and why you would want to offer local payment methods. This is one of the examples, and there's many more that we could kind of give you across the globe as to why it matters. I won't go over too much into the why it matters and more into the why doesn't every merchant offer every payment method then? Like, why can't a Chinese buyer always find Alipay and WeChat Pay and China Union Pay in every checkout of a US or European merchant? Engineering teams have been building and working on this problem for years. They are really staffed in the largest company to tackle that particular globally optimized checkout problem, yet it's still a challenge. Why is that? Well, the first aspect is setup. Every time you need to integrate a new payment method, in the traditional world, you need to set up a local entity in the country of the payment method, have a bank account in the currency of the payment method, negotiate commercials, do contractuals, go through compliance checks with that payment method. Now you're finally onboarded, you need to make sure that money flows. So you need to handle stuff like FX and moving the money back to where your P&L is. Then gets the actual build part, where your engineers come into play, and that's where you need to build stuff like the API integration, authentication, refunds, chargebacks. You need to handle recon, reporting. If you're a recurring business, you need to do stuff like credentials on file, have your dunning logic in place. And only then do you get to the piece that your buyers see, the front-end kind of client-side experience of seeing the payment method, the authentication mechanism, the upstream messaging to let buyers know up in your website that they're going to be able to find the payment method at checkout. Obviously, you need to do that in a localized way. And once you've done that, the work doesn't stop here. You need to operate the payment method. So you need to tell your ops team about where they're going to go to do refunds and manage chargebacks. You need to automate that. You need to manage fraud mitigation. You need to try and improve that payment experience. Run A/B tests, deploy new payment method features. Update your ranking logic based on your buyer to try and optimize conversion. The work never stops, and you need to multiply it by each payment method. No wonder why we've seen that a lot of merchants only launch 2, 3 LPMs when they start expanding globally. And that complexity increases. There's just more and more payment methods launching and becoming successful in their domestic market and expanding outside of it. So this just compounds. It's really easy to mess up. Like, you could just take a laundry list of payment methods, integrate all of them, display them at checkout. You think you're done? No, you've actually decreased your conversion and increased your maintenance burden because everything is hard-coded, and anytime you need to make a change, you need to make it every time. And for platforms, I saw quite a bit of hands raising when we were talking about the platforms bit. For platforms, the complexity is multiplied by the number of merchants you have to onboard on those payment methods. If you have 100, 1,000, millions of merchants, you need to handle their onboarding onto each payment method. You need to give them an admin interface where they can decide which payment methods they want to activate in their own checkout. You need to collect compliance data from each of them. You need to track all of their preference. Do they have access to the payment method? Do they want to display the payment method? If yes, actually show it at checkout for the relevant buyers. And if you get it wrong, and some platforms do, that leads to errors and lost conversion. So I'll go over the tooling that we've built over the years to help merchants and platforms launch payment methods at scale. The first building block is payment UIs that you can display throughout your buyer's journey to display the payment methods. The first bit is displaying upstream messaging so that next to your product, your buyers know which convenient payment methods, i.e. BNPLs, or other payment methods they'll find at checkout. So that increases conversion because they know they'll find what they're looking for at checkout. They can split a large purchase over multiple installments. We then have the express checkout element, which is those express buttons that let you skip the checkout, let your buyers skip the checkout and use their saved shipping and billing details to pay for a purchase. And finally, there's like the traditional checkout where you see the list of relevant payment methods for a buyer. And here we've built what we call the payment element that automatically, based on who your buyer is and what their device is going to show the right payment method ranked in the order that's most likely to drive to conversion. And this is based on a machine learning model that keeps improving. So that's kind of the bottom bit. And this is to show the payment method to your buyers. Now, on top of those buyer UIs, what we've built is dashboard configuration for those buyers UIs. We don't think that every merchant or every platform should start to go make engineering changes to their front end to go and deploy a payment method. This just doesn't scale at the scale of a platform or a large merchant. So what we've built is some settings that your business teams can use to just go tick the payment methods that you want to show in your checkout or that you want to deploy for your merchants as a platform. The next thing that we've done is you may be worried about turning on those payment methods and not really knowing the return on investment for your business. So what we've done is we've built an experimentation toolkit built on top of those buyer API, those buyer UIs, that lets you launch a new payment method and see, okay, what's the value for my business? Am I actually getting more revenue from BNPLs? What's the impact of Klarna on my checkout? What impact does it have on my overall payment mix? You launch that as part of the experiment. If the metrics look good, you can deploy it across your buyer base. One merchant has seen success with this is Bodum, who is kind of a large kitchen utensils manufacturer, selling across a wide range of geographies. They're able to use those Stripe elements and those buyer UIs, and they are now able to launch any payment method that Stripe supports directly from their dashboard to their consumer base across their geographies. We talked about merchants. Now there's an extra layer for platforms. You've got your buyer UIs that automatically respond to kind of your dashboard configuration for payment methods, but how do you scale that at 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 merchants? We've built some set of tools that help you as a platform view the entirety of your merchant base, which payment methods they can enable, i.e. they already fill all of the compliance requirements for them, which ones you can deploy to them right away, and which ones you can actually display in their checkout. So you're able to gain visibility on your entire merchant base. You can enable payment methods for those merchants, and the payment methods will appear in the buyer UIs for those merchants. So you're able to do this at scale. Of course, all of that is available via APIs, but the dashboard is kind of the visible part of this iceberg. And then you need to give settings to your merchants. You need each merchant to be able to say, I want this payment method in my checkout, but not that payment method. And if you need to do a change to your settings in your admin panel every time you launch a new local payment method, that's a lot of work. And so what we've done is built a set of tools ranging from all the way to the right, APIs that you can use to build your own settings page that controls those buyer UIs. Some hosted settings that you can embed into your platforms that do the job for you, so you don't have to build the UIs on top for data collection and for kind of settings. And some platforms are also able to point their buyers to their, point their merchants to their seller dashboard, where they can control that directly from Stripe. One platform that we've seen have a lot of success with this set of tooling is BigCommerce. BigCommerce used to be one of those platforms who needed to do engineering work to add any new payment method that Stripe supported. Now, when we launch a new payment method, BigCommerce is able to deploy it to their merchant base with no engineering work. So that's what we like to call the optimized checkout suite. this building block of payment UIs that respond to your dashboard configuration, and that you can then use our Connect. What we call Connect is our product for marketplaces and platforms. Connect tooling to be able to deploy local payment methods at scale with your merchants. That's it for me. Thank you, everyone.